hello. How you guys doing? I don't know, I think by the time you guys see this, it'll probably be the same, but we are 2 days from ending 2020. Crazy. I honestly didn't know if the world would get through this year, but it looks like it's going to. We still have 2 days, so we'll see, but we're trajecting at a pretty good pace to get through to 2021. But today I wanted to kind of do a talking vlogging. Yesterday I made a video about do I recommend vlogging to people. Today's video is more going to be about just a recap of 2020 for me personally, just as a personal record and, you know, just to kind of put it out there. I had a kind of hard time deciding whether I was going to do this or not, just because 2020 was such a tumultuous year, and even in my friends, like there are some of my friends that were like 2020 actually was beneficial for them, helped them, and then there are other friends that I have who suffered great loss, couldn't be with their families. Like there's so many people in different spectrums of how people were affected by 2020. I kind of wanted to sit and be honest with myself and just kind of reflect on what 2020 was for me, because it was such a, you know, it was the start of a new decade. It was such a pivotal year. For me, I moved from the States to, you know, starting a new life in Japan. I married my boyfriend of 10 years. Now he's my husband. I left a lot of good friends, my dog, behind in the States and to come and live here with my family that I haven't been with in 10 years. Like it was a big shift, right? And so I just kind of want to document just how it was for me and kind of reflect back on what 2020 was for me. I think like overall, I wish 2020 didn't go the way it did in terms of the pandemic. Mostly because there were so many people that I feel suffered such a great loss. Whether they lost a family member, a friend, a relative, or, you know, lost their jobs, lost their houses. There's a lot of people who lost a lot of things this year. And for that reason and that reason alone, I wish that 2020 didn't go the way it did. But it did happen. I think everything for me, I feel like I was extraordinarily blessed the way 2020 turned out in terms of like timing of everything. Matt and I were originally planning on leaving the States in April, but we ended up pushing it forward to January. Probably like not even a month and a half later, things started to like shut down. I remember when I left the States, the whole coronavirus thing was just starting to be talked about in the news. People were starting to talk about Wuhan and China and all of that, but not everybody really knew about the coronavirus. And then like I remember landing in Taiwan, and I was a little nervous about being in Taiwan at the time because it was so close to China, but like the rest of the world really wasn't paying much attention to it. And then like a month and a half later, everything was just a completely different world. I remember like 3 weeks after we landed in Okinawa, I was talking to my friend stateside, and she was so like nonchalant about the whole coronavirus thing. I was like talking to her about like what was happening in Asia, and at the time it really wasn't that big of a deal. Like there was maybe a couple cases in the States, but nothing like it is now. And it was just so crazy how things just like changed. I look back at it now, and if I think like, man, if Matt and I had left in April, we wouldn't be here right now. You know, like if we had gone with the original plan, we would have been stuck in the States in an apartment we couldn't afford, even more so with the coronavirus. In terms of being able to come here at the time that we did, I think was such a blessing. Like my friends always tell us like we got out at the right time. I hate hearing that though, because like I worry about my friends, I worry about my family still in the States, I worry about Matt's family. Luckily, nothing crazy it has happened too much to the closest people. Like I've known people to get it, but luckily everyone's recovered so far. Knock on some wood. That was a very good timing for me. I remember Matt was supposed to go back to the States in March. He had a ticket because he had to go back to pick up Buddy. I remember the borders were starting to shut down, and we still hadn't processed Matt's residency paperwork yet. And I told my mom, I was like, because she wanted to wait like a month or so. I don't know why, but my mom tends to procrastinate. And I was like, no, Mom, things are shutting down. We gotta get his residency like turned in now. And so we went and got it done. And then the day we went to pick up his residency card, he got an email from the airline company saying that they had canceled his flight back to the States. So like that worked out really well. Getting the car, getting this apartment, like everything, getting the jobs that I got at the time that I did, like everything worked out really well for me this year in terms of timing. For me, 2020 has probably been my most productive year because, you know, this year I had committed to doing a vlog every single day. Normally I tend to get distracted, you know, especially coming back here. I want to go out and do things and hang out with my friends, but the pandemic really kind of made it that not happen. So I was able to kind of stay home more and just work on the things I needed to work on. So in terms of like building a habit and doing this YouTube, like I wish I could have done more and done like gone out and traveled more and done what I originally wanted to do. But in terms of like building a habit, I think being in this pandemic and being in this situation really helped in that aspect. I was able to take away everything that I would normally, you know, that would normally distract me in life and just focus on what I needed to do. Like I feel kind of guilty saying that. Like I feel like I'm like, man, 2020 was a great year for me. I mean, it was and it wasn't. It wasn't for me personally. Like I feel like everything aligned perfectly for me coming to Japan at the time that we did, finding this apartment, finding, you know, a car, doing the YouTube channel. Like everything aligned perfectly. I was able to spend time with my family who I hadn't spent time with this much in like the 10 years that I was living in the States through a pretty rough world crisis. But at the same time, I feel so guilty because I also recognize how many people suffered so much. I know what it's like to not be able to see your family, especially when something bad happens. Maybe not at this scale, but I know that feeling a little bit. And also, you know, I've experienced loss in my life, so I know the pain of losing somebody. Sorry, Matt's distracting me. He's in the background like doing his thing. And now that we're about to close a chapter on 2020 and head into 2021, I see a lot of people, and I see it every year, but I feel like especially more this year I'm seeing it is like F 2020, we're so excited for 2021, blah blah blah, like screw this year. And I want to like remind myself and everybody, like 2020, the effects of it aren't over. Like just because that clock strikes midnight and we hit to 2021, like everything that we've been experiencing this year does not end. You know, it is a new year, but the pandemic is still there and people are still out there, you know, struggling. We can only hope that 2021 with the vaccines and everything turns everything around, but there's no guarantee of that. And I'm not trying to be like a downer or anything, but I'm just saying that, you know, whatever 2021 brings, I always try to stay with the notion that it's not over until it is. We can't control what happens around us. We can't control what happens to the world or what happens to other people, but what we can control is who we are and how we feel in the moment that it happens. And I've tried so hard to keep that in mind this year. We can only do so much right now in terms of like what's happening to the world, but what happens within us and how we in turn internalize everything and, you know, take all that toxicity and negative energy and transfer it into something positive, that makes such a huge impact, more than people realize. I always try to remember that and keep that in mind. You know, who knows what happens in 2021? I mean, let's be honest, you know, like there's like that meme going around that the Mayan who predicted the world to end in 2012 was actually dyslexic and the world's supposed to end in 2021. Who knows? It could be a possibility. I doubt it, but it could happen. But like I keep saying, I probably said it 3 times now, but it's not over until it is. We can only do so much. And we can only like focus on our own lane. And, you know, focusing on our own lane doesn't necessarily mean that we're selfish. But what that does mean is focusing on ourselves and, like I said, how we process the world and everything around us does affect people around us as well. So as long as we all, you know, try to keep that in mind and try to be as compassionate and kind and encouraging and helpful and loving to everybody around us. I think no matter how hard 2020 was, and, you know, I don't know what 2021 is going to bring, but as long as we keep in mind that compassion and sympathy and empathy for others, no matter what happens, I think we'll get through it. I think the world has proven this year, as crazy as it looked, with everything that went on even outside of the pandemic, people need each other. We all need each other. And that's honestly what this year has really taught me. There's so many people who are isolated from other people, and people are social creatures. We need other people to live and survive. We need to feel loved, and we need to love in return. And that's how we function as a society and as individuals. So hopefully we can keep that in mind going forward. I hope that the new year brings better opportunities for everybody, not just people who struggled this year, but for everybody. It was a weird year. It was a weird year. There's no denying it. I really wanted to just kind of reflect back on this year, and I don't know if any of this made sense or if it was even necessary, but for me, I feel like it was, because eventually one day I'll look back at this. I mean, 2020 was such a pivotal year. It was such a huge transition in so many ways, but it's not over. We still have 2021 and hopefully many more years to come. So thank you guys so much for being a part of my journey this year, being a part of the process that I had to go through this year for me personally. It was honestly like a huge honor to have so many people watch me every single day. When I started this year, like I said yesterday, I didn't think I would, I honestly didn't think anybody would watch me, and to have, so many of you join me every single day, like I can't even begin to express my gratitude on that. I'm going to continue on to the new year with much more force than I did 2020. I say that and I still have no idea what I'm going to do. I don't know what anything's going to look like, but that's kind of like the fun of it, right? Like, I can only plan so much. I planned so many different things to happen in 2020, and none of it happened because just of how the world turned out. And like I said, I don't know, 6 months ago, I don't even remember which video. I have a video entitled Be Like Water. You can only plan so much before you realize that there's only so much you can control. So you have to be like water and be able to mold and be able to kind of flow. And that's how we succeed, and that's how we move forward in life, is not necessarily following a specific plan, but to have a goal and to understand that things aren't going to go the way we want it to go, and just kind of flow through life while still aiming for that goal. And I think that's the most important thing. And also compassion and loving others. Obviously, that's also very important too. But I love you guys so much. Thank you for letting me kind of share and recap this year with you. We still have tomorrow for the last day of the new year, at least here in Japan. Oh my god, tomorrow's gonna be the 31st. Holy shit. That's crazy. And then 2 or 3 days from now, I'm going to be doing that live. So it's going to be a good experience. But I love you guys so much. I'm going to have stuff to get done today, so I have to go. But I love you, and I will see you in tomorrow's video. Peace. Bye. Boop.